Hey, what's up guys, aarava here, and welcome back to an episode of my F1 2019 career mode, episode number 59 today for the Russian Grand Prix. If you guys didn't see the previous episode, then be sure to go check that one out before you see this one. A pretty awesome Singapore Grand Prix, actually, in terms of a lot of action there. We come to Russia, maybe a little bit less action ahead for the weekend on the game, obviously, with the Season 3 tyre wear levels. It's going to be a pretty simple one-stop, I can already tell, with the strategy, but there is a tiny bit of rain in the air in qualifying, so that might make things a little bit interesting. Of course, we're still in this basically season-long battle with Charles Leclerc, with the McLarens getting in the mix, and also recently the Racing Point cars getting pretty decent in terms of we saw them being very competitive at the Singapore Grand Prix. So I expect quite a close fight. You can see the R&D chart is so close between the kind of top 4-5 teams there. So I'm sure it'll still be a challenge for us, but nonetheless, I think it'll be a bit of a different one compared to Singapore. But let's just head into the Saturday qualifying then and see how we do over one lap.
Welcome back to Sochi. We're about to be joining the action down in the pit lane as the cars get ready to embark on their qualifying runs. And as we wait, poised for the start of what will hopefully be a thrilling qualifying, why don't you tell us, Anthony Davidson, about the things you can do to really get the most out of a car in a session like this?
Well, you're largely limited by the Parc Fermé regulations, of course. Back in the old days, pre-2004, you'd work on both a qualifying setup and a race setup over practice, and then swap them over after qualifying. So the race car was quite different at times to the qualifying car. Nowadays, though, you have to find a compromise that works for both. There are a few things that you can still adjust during the session, such as the differential, the brake bias, and the front wing angle, but that's about it. So it's more about optimizing what you do have and adapting your own style to suit the track conditions.
So we go into another sunny Q1 then, the start of Saturday, knowing that there will be some rain to come in Q3. I don't know what it is this season. We've had so many of these quality sessions where it starts off completely dry, nice and sunny, and then it's a little bit of rain just at the end, enough for Q3, maybe some in Q2. We've had about 5, I think, race weekends where it's like that, and then in the race it's usually normally dry. Sometimes there's some rain in the race, but it's the same exact pattern. Like, at least if they're going to do the same thing, at least change the pattern around by giving me some rain maybe in Q1 and giving me a dry Q3. I think I'd rather have that, to be honest, in terms of my performance versus the AI pre-patch. At least that was. Obviously now after the 1.12 patch, the AI are a little bit more equalized in the wet, and we can actually challenge them. But you can see into Q2 then, we got through Q1 obviously quite fine, but we skate on into our flying lap in Q2. It's already starting to rain. Literally as soon as Q2 started, I went straight out there, but the rain was still coming down, but there was enough grip in sectors 1 that I just went out basically. Right now it's a bit slidey. You're having to see I'm basically feathering the throttle here, really not going full throttle at any point until we get fully in a straight line here, because it's just so damp out there and the car's sliding about and just not feeling too grippy and confident basically in mid-corner especially. You know, you can see just the back end steps out and the car just seems like it's floating basically in terms of the physics, but it's just because of the weather. So it was worth still to go out because sector 1 was so dry, but we spin across the line, smash into the wall there, break off front wing. Thankfully we set the time anyway as we spun, so it didn't lose us too much time there. And you can see everyone else really slow then as they went out later than me, and so we get through into Q3. Leclerc makes it through as well as the 2 McLarens. So our kind of 3 main big rivals as of late in the races are kind of right up there. Of course, the main man, Leclerc, but I mentioned at the end of last episode, Sergio Perez has been quietly, working about his business, and if we're not careful, if myself and Charles aren't careful, Perez could join the title fight if he, maybe gets 1 or 2 more wins this season. But we are now in Q3 then. It's now fully intermediates here, so that, typical sign. We had it at Germany, had it so many other tracks, like I just said. This situation here, we have to try and do the best job we can in inters. I've gone purple second sector, so it's been a pretty decent lap this would be. We're in P7 right now. We went for a consecutive second lap, but we skate across the line, lost a bit too much time in sector 2, and basically lost all the ground I found in sector 2. I lost it all in sector 3, and so we finish up in P6 unfortunately there. Not too far off though in terms of tenths to Leclerc, but the grid's so close now, like I mentioned, that we're down in P6 and he's on the front row alongside Sergio Perez. So the two drivers that are, maybe going to be challenging me in the title, at least Leclerc confirmed, and maybe potentially Perez, are right up there at the sharp end. So it's unfortunate. Again, we find ourselves in a situation where we have to try and fight back through some traffic and then go and overtake our championship rival. But it's nothing that I'm not going to back down of it, of course. And Russia in a straight line, our car should be pretty damn good. Obviously, the Toro Rosso is ridiculous in a straight line, and we've got plenty of straights to do that at Sochi. So let's go to the race then and get the job done on Sunday.
Good afternoon from Sochi as we prepare to get underway for the Russian Grand Prix. The championship battle has some time to go yet, but still expect no quarter to be given here on this circuit that made its debut in 2014 and has already seen some classic racing. It's time to go racing then in the Sochi Autodrome, where the long run down to the heavy braking zone at turn 2 is one of 2 DRS zones around this 3.6 mile circuit. The other, of course, down into turn 13. 18 corners make up a lap here today, with an average speed somewhere in the region of 130 miles an hour. Joining us today to oversee all the thrills and spills, it's Anthony Davidson. And great to see you. How are you feeling about the race today, and how are the circuit conditions from what you've seen?
Well, the surface looks clean enough, but I'm a little bit worried about the track temperature. It's pretty cool out there, which could give some teams difficulties when it comes to keeping their tyres in the right operating window. The cars out there that work their tyres hard and really put a lot of energy through them, they'll be the ones that are better off.
With the race minutes away from starting, here's what today's grid rundown looks like. Sergio Perez will lead us away from pole position, and it's Charles Leclerc in P2. Looking at the rest of today's grid, we have Weber, Norris, Nico Hülkenberg, the engineer, Butler, Bottas, Vettel and Daniel Ricciardo, Stroll, Russell, Pierre Gasly and Verstappen, Hamilton, Magnussen, Daniel Kvyat and Antonio Giovinazzi, Grosjean and Kimi Raikkonen finishes off the grid. And with preparations almost complete, let's head down to the track.
Alright, so we're on the grid then in P6. Unfortunately, no penalties or anything like that ahead of us to jump us up the order, but that shouldn't be an issue. Like I said, I'm confident we can make overtakes. The car has the pace, clearly, as Leclerc showed, but like I said earlier, it is going to be a very normal, boring strategy of a one-stop here at Sochi. The soft tyres to the medium, so low down the fuel, and it's going to be all about just the kind of straight-line speed overtakes, really. There's no rain. It's very overcast right now, but there shouldn't be any rain to come because it's actually going to get sunnier as we get on through this race. So, well, let's just get into this and then go to 5 red lights for the Russian Grand Prix. 27 laps ahead of us here at Sochi. We've got to make up some time against Leclerc. The lights are out and we're underway. It's a slow start for us initially there, but I think we should be able to get a bit of a tow maybe as we go down towards turn 2 off Lando Norris and Hülkenberg. Butler in the Red Bull on the left, having a little look in here, but can we make any sort of gain into the inside of turn 2? Not quite, because Norris tries to make a move on Hülkenberg, so that kind of blocks me off there. So as we go through into turns 3 instead, gonna have to just see what I can do, but I don't want to kind of get my nose in too early, because obviously it's a long race, and Leclerc at the moment there leads the way. Actually, he's got Sergio Perez, so Leclerc leads this now, and Perez lost the lead off pole position, so we need to stay clean, and we need to be in this fight all the way to the end. I'm confident eventually, by the time we get to the end of the race, I should be there with Leclerc, no matter what there, because we've been so equal on pace of this season. It's been a joke, but here we go now, making a move on Lando Norris then, with the second McLaren struggling this weekend compared to Sergio Perez, down the inside as we go under the bridge into sector 3, around the outside. It's a really lovely move actually, as Norris keeps his nose in there. We have to go very aggressive and try and pinch him into the apex. But as we make the move stick on Lando Norris, we get a really unfortunate radio call from Jeff.
We've lost one of the gears. The transmission is significantly damaged. We're down a gear.
So it's not even the end of lap number 1, and we've lost one of the gears. We've lost gear 5, which isn't too bad, to be honest, because a lot of the corners don't really need gear 5. Most of the time they're either kind of 4 or 3 or 6 at the Russian GP, but that's still one gear missing for I don't know how long in this lap, because we get another radio message later, which sounded quite concerning.
Right, we've looked at the gearbox issue, but I'm afraid there's nothing we can do. Try and drive around it. We'll just have to hope for the best. Remember that you have a lot of torque in these power units, so you should be able to stay in higher gears for a lot of the lap.
So I don't know what that exactly means. I've not had it in this game before where you lose a gear permanently. Usually they do come back, but by the sounds of it, it was a permanent thing. But by the time we move on to lap number 3, I do get gear 5 back. So I don't know what that radio message was about. I've never heard it before, but nonetheless, the gear is back. I assume at some point we'll probably lose another gear, unfortunately. But now, as you can clearly see on screen, we're just concentrating on getting back to work and making these overtakes now. We've got some good pace compared to Hülkenberg here. We've got DRS open now on lap number 3, and we're coming at a rate of knots. Should be able to make a nice dive bomb down the inside. Very punchy on the brakes there. The German gets squeezed off as we go through the apex and go under the bridge, and we're up into P4. So a very similar move, actually, to the one we made on Lando Norris, although Hülkenberg puts up less of a fight there. So we're up into P4. Weber is in P3, Perez still P2, and then Leclerc leads the Grand Prix. So yeah, we've still got some good pace, obviously, and getting gear 5 back kind of helped a little bit, just psychologically, to not worry about that, because I was constantly having to just worry that am I going to be going down into a misshift, because if I'm shifting down from 6th to 4th mid-corner, that's going to, basically whack out the tail of the car and kind of put you into a bit of a slide there. So that was always a subconscious thing you're thinking about. Now, that's not an issue anymore. We're all good, but like I said, I've had issues with gearboxes before in the past where another gear will go later on. So that's why I was kind of confused with that earlier radio message where it said it sounded like almost the 5th gear loss was going to be permanent, like I was going to have that gear missing the entire race, but that's not the case here. But we still have some good pace. That's the good news. You can see right here there, Sergio Perez tried to make a move on the outside of turn 2 on Leclerc. Didn't work out there, but those two battling have slowed us all down there and bunched us right up. So we're on the back of the gearbox of Lucas Weber then, and looking likely we can make an overtake here on the Renault. I don't know what it is. I think the Renault, maybe a little bit less downforce it seems like, because in the corners I'm actually getting some really good exits and turn-ins here. So just trying to set up this move then on the back straight, or back kink rather, because it's not really a straight here at Sochi. Neither of them are actually, because obviously you've got turn 1, which is basically just kink, but officially it is a turn. And then you've got this long straight, which has a bit of a curve as we go right to left as we go through into the brake zone. Once again, the same exact place we made all the moves so far in this Grand Prix. Down the inside we go, under the bridge on the right-hand side. The guy we're trying to overtake on the left-hand side there, and we just about make it work there. Weber really squeezed us to the right there and had to take a lot of the curve to make the move done. But we are up into P3 then in the podium positions, and we watch on now on lap number 5. And actually I watch on so much that it distracts me, and we lock up on the front right tyre and nearly go straight on at turn 2 because I was so invested in watching Leclerc and Perez fight through turns 2 and turn 3. Leclerc, I believe, is on the outside, so he'll have the inside line for the next corner, and he does squeeze out Sergio Perez there very nicely. But I've got my own fight here because Lucas Weber and Lando Norris are getting in the mix there. You can see both of them trying to overtake each other, and then Lando Norris with a massive dive there, just like Raikkonen did on me in the last question mark challenge I did here a week ago at Russia. Lando Norris, a great overtake by him down the inside there. I mean, so aggressive. I don't know, like I said, I don't know if the AI got patched at all in the 1.12 patch, but they seem a little bit more aggressive as of late after I've downloaded that patch, in the videos I've done with it so far. So, really nice move by Norris. Fair play. Caught me napping because I was too busy trying to defend against Lucas Weber. So instead we have to try and re-overtake him now on the back straight lap number 5. DRS open, but it should be a pretty easy pass to re-overtake him there. Norris maybe harvesting some ERS as well. We've got yellow flags out there because I believe it was Grosjean, wasn't it? I think that came up on the message. That's retired out this Grand Prix. So 19 runners there, but we've lost a lot of time now against Perez and Leclerc. So I have to try and gain that all back here. And so it takes us like 1.5 more laps to go as we go on towards lap number 7 then to finally catch back up to Sergio Perez. But some decent pace because clearly the gap was quite large actually visually, and we've already caught him back up there. And now opening DRS in the main straight through turn 1 towards turn 2, pull on the right, and it's a simple move, and we're up into P2 of the GP. So it's a 1-2 now for Scuderia Toro Rosso, McLaren P3 and P5, I believe, because Weber is there in the mix. But as we close up to Leclerc on lap number 10, it's time to come in. We've set a really good in-lap there with a purple second sector, and I hope it was at least green third sector. So a good in-lap from us, and probably if I stayed out, I might have had a good chance of overtaking Leclerc on the main straight. So I think we should have a good chance of undercutting him, basically, having those fresher mediums. And so hopefully by the time we come back around to this area of the track and Leclerc's in the position we're in, we'll just jump him basically as we go down on the pit exit here. So we'll see about that. But we have to first on strap on the set of medium tyres and actually do a good outlap as well. Hopefully not get too much traffic. I don't think we should be, because I think we're kind of in a very no man's land kind of situation here as Raikkonen goes past, Giovinazzi goes past in the Haas, and yeah, we're in P9. Well, we're last place in the race. That's just how close the grid is. That's lap 11, and I've picked. I'm the first man who's picked, and I'm last place. That just shows how close this entire fuel spread is. But as we close up then to Gio in the Haas car, the Italian, we're going to have DRS off him, and this is very well timed here to get DRS off him because we use him as a bit of a slingshot here down the main straight. There is Leclerc, and so we're going to get a toe off him, and we're going to move through on the left-hand side and make a move on the outside. He defends the position as hard as he can, but we do it, and we're up into P10 of the Russian GP, but that will be a net P1, remember. So we've technically just made the pass for the lead of the Russian Grand Prix, and more crucially, no matter what, we've made the pass on our teammate, our championship rival there, and so that's going to be points over him if we can take this home now. We're lap number 12, we're on to lap number 16, Leclerc pressurising us. We're now into P1, Leclerc P2, everyone's made their pit stops. Weber now actually is up into P3, so Weber has jumped both McLarens there for the podium spot, but Leclerc trying to pile on the pressure, but we're just doing enough in the ERS zones basically to use overtake mode, use rich mix to get away. You can see on the very next lap 17, we do get away from him, so things are looking pretty damn decent for us. As we then move on later into the Grand Prix, get a very strange radio message. We've already had one that I haven't heard before. This one I really haven't heard before, about a broken sensor.
Okay, so all of our tyre pressure data is reading 0 at the moment. Assuming they still look inflated to you, we're going to guess it's just a bad sensor. Shouldn't be anything to worry about.
So that is a very interesting radio call. I got really paranoid then about getting a puncture or feeling for a puncture, and I think my mind started playing tricks on me because we went through the next corner, lap 2, turn 2, and we almost went wide there, and I almost started kind of making up a feeling in the force feedback of, oh, is there a puncture actually? It was just very, very odd. You know, I've never heard that radio message before, ever, about a broken sensor. I even checked the engine. I thought maybe the electronic sensor of the part of the engine was actually broken or anything like that. It wasn't really that worn either. So, yeah, just out of the blue, sensor break. It's kind of cool, actually. Very sense of immersion and things going on the pit wall that I can't control, really. But in the end, though, it's not going to be too much use. Thankfully, nothing was wrong with my tyre pressures. Everything was fine on the punches, and we were able to keep Leclerc at bay and just did a good job of controlling that Grand Prix. He kept me honest the entire way through that GP, so there wasn't really any time to rest, but we still kept cool and kept calm, and really there was no point where he was really challenging me that much here. And the straight line speed we had, the compromise I made on the setup for the straight line was really, really decent. And so we're going to come through now on the last lap of the Grand Prix to win the Russian Grand Prix. It's a 1-2 for Toro Rosso, and the championship fight is back on, and the ball is back in my court now as we take the lead of the standings.
Fantastic. You've won the Grand Prix.
It was touch and go for a while there, but Toro Rosso have done it. A great win. Anthony Davidson, what helped them deliver this result, do you think?
Well, they certainly stood out as a driver with tons of confidence on the track. I think their ability to keep their cool, even during some of the more hectic parts of the race, meant they were able to capitalise on the mistakes of other drivers, giving them the opportunity to make their way to the top spot with ease.
Our winners are heading to the podium right now. Toro Rosso have done an exceptional job when it comes to forging new talent, and seeing them take home the victory today is a huge positive for the future of the sport.
So, like I said there, with the 1-2, we take the lead of the championship then by a few points, and once again, it's back in my court. And, you know, like I mentioned a few episodes ago, I think it is, if you did an Excel sheet of us, we'd literally just be winding through each other, basically, for 1-2, in like a little bit of a DNA helix. And Sergio Perez, though, is still somewhat close. After this 1-2, though, he's a little bit further away. I think if he had maybe won this Grand Prix or got second in between us, he would have been still kind of comfortably, maybe with a chance of getting in the mix. But now, I don't know, he's going to have to maybe win 2 or 3 races on the bounce, Sergio Perez, if he wants to fully get into the championship fight there, I think, because with the consistency we've got of always kind of being on the podium there with Leclerc, or at least the top kind of 5 minimum, it's going to be very difficult for him, and that makes our life easier, makes Leclerc's life easier, just me and him battling each other, basically, instead of like a third spanner in the works that we can't control, that's out of our control, of a different team like McLaren and Sergio Perez there. But a very odd episode then. A lot of things went wrong on our car. I kind of felt like Sebastian Vettel in like 2013 when Christian Horner used to say he's managing 500 different things in the car, and that his life in first place wasn't as easy as people thought it was about managing all these issues. I felt like that. I was managing the tyre issue that we had, apparently the broken sensor, managing the gearbox issue, managing the gap to Leclerc. It was all very busy, despite being a bit of a maybe lackluster second stint of that Grand Prix. But yeah, if you guys enjoyed it nonetheless, then be sure to hit that like button. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. If you're new around here to subscribe for weekly Formula 1 content, I've been aarava. I'm just today. I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.